Okay, let's discuss a new vulnerability called XML or XPath Injection. And to demonstrate this, I want you to navigate to your Bebop application. Under here, we want to scroll a little bit down and find this right here. As it says, XML XPath Injection. Let's click on this one first, which is Search For. So let's click on that, click on Hack, and it will load this application right here. Now, this vulnerability is kind of similar to SQL injection. The input that we send could be processed unfiltered through XPath. Now, since we don't really have any input right here that we can type in, we can assume that this button is our input. So we can select the movie genre, action, horror, and science fiction. If we go with science fiction and click on search, it will output all the science fiction movies. Okay. Now, let's try intercepting this request with burpsuit. Let's go right here. Let's turn on the intercept and let's click on search. So we can see our parameters are getting sent through this link. We get genre to be action and action equals search. Now, let's try a simple injection type. Let's try to see whether we can get error by specifying a single quote, the same way that we did with our SQL injection. So let's type action, single quote, and let's forward this packet. Let's go back here, and we do get some error. We get warning, simple XML element, XPath, invalid expression. Now, there is one thing that this application can do. We can check whether it requires entire name of genre, which is action, or can it determine which genre it is with just a first few letters from the name. For example, if we type ACT, can it determine that we want the action genre? Let's give it a try by intercepting the request once again. And instead of sending action, let's delete last three letters and just leave it on act. If we forward this, go back, it does actually load the action movies. So it can determine that we meant to search for action movies just by looking at first three letters that we specified from the genre name. Now, why did we check for this? Well, if we still get results like that, this could mean that the application uses a function called contains. And that function looks something like this. Let me just nano example.txt. This is the function that our application could possibly use. And since we're testing this as a black box, we won't be looking at the source code, but we can assume that the code to the application could look something like this. Open square brackets, contains, open normal brackets, genre, comma, and then single quote, $, and something like genre input. It doesn't have to be called like this, but let's just assume that the application could have a code that looks something like this. So, if the genre input is contained in the genre name, then it will just load that genre. So, let's also use this contains function ourselves to try to get everything outputted that the application offers. And to do that, we need to craft our payload. Since we assume that the application could potentially use a function like this, we need to escape it first. And we're going to escape it with closing off our brackets first and our single quote to our input. So we start like this. This is our first three characters. And then we must use this syntax, which is slash and then $, then pipe. Since we're piping another command, we use slash and again $, and now we use our own contains function, which we can access by opening square brackets and then contains. Then let's open normal brackets and specify 1, 1 inside of the single quotes. And the last single quote we're not specifying due to the same reasons as in the SQL injection. It's probably already specified inside of the application at the end of our genre input. So what we did right here is we pretty much closed off this code in the application by specifying these three signs. Then we added our own contains function, and the leftover signs that we closed off in the application code are getting added at the end right here, therefore we don't need to type it in twice. If we copy this code and we go and intercept our request once again, we, instead of typing action, we can delete this and specify our code, which is this one right here. If we forward this, go back to the application, here it is. We get all the output right here. You can say the entire database drop, even though it's not a database drop, but we do get all of the movies that are in this application, just by exploiting the contains function and the unfiltered input through this genre tab. Awesome. In the next video, we're going to check another example of XPath injection that we have on Bebop, which will be really similar to SQL injection. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next lecture.